even your best friends in endurance sports don't want to hear about your power numbers. They don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean,
but your coach
does.
Your coach definitely does.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Coaches on Couches.
Being slouches.
Today, we're going to talk about coaching.
Coaching?
Figure.
Yeah. Coaches talking about coaching.
On couches.
Unbiased.
On a couch.
100% unbiased here.
Yeah, so today we're going to talk about the pros and cons of the different types of coaching out there. So basically, self-coached, which a lot of people choose to do.
Yep.
Like general plans, cookie cutter plans,
pre-built
plans you
programs.
can buy online or free ones online, and then hiring a coach.
Yep, like
and
us.
We've got
a coach on a couch.
You could hire a coach that sits on the couch.
We recommend only hiring that style of coach.
Yes. So we'll get to that in just a second. I'm Coach Dale Sanford.
I am Coach Bryant Funston. We are the co-founders of BPC Performance Coaching, where we specialize in helping time-crunched athletes optimize their busy schedules so they can maximize their athletic performance. Every BPC coach is trained in our 5 pillars coaching system that has been developed over the last decade through our work with athletes of all ages and ability levels, from fresh off the couch to world championship competitors. You can find out more about BPC by going to buildpeakcompete.com. You can check us out on Facebook and YouTube at Build Peak Compete, or all up on that Insta, as in Instagram, at BPC Performance.
Nailed it. We were worried. Brian went rogue without the script.
I went without my script, man. First time. Just like a Band-Aid. I ripped it off. No more crutch.
Nailed
Wasn't using it as a crutch anymore.
All right, we'll get to the topic of the day, but first, shout-outs.
Shout-outs. Love them.
So first shout-out to Coach Heather Nichols. She's going to be helping us for the foreseeable future as a triathlon coach with us, handling some of our peak and build level clients and making people faster.
Yep.
Hitting them goals.
Yeah, I mean, she's been in the endurance game for a long time.
Yep.
And has a wealth of knowledge in the fitness industry in general. So she's a great asset to have on board, and we're excited about that.
Absolutely.
Also, big shout out to the Oxford Gravel Cup that just happened, or gravel race. What was it? Oxford, Mississippi Gravel, OMG, they called it.
OMG.
Which I kind of laughed about. But it's part of a gravel series. If you're someone who's been wanting to kind of test yourself in the gravel game, there's still 3 more races as part of that Gravel Cup, Mississippi Gravel Cup. Well-run event. I went out and did it. There was a 100-mile option, 50-mile option, 25-mile option. It was really cool to see people of, kind of like we work with, all ages, all ability levels, different shapes, sizes, goals, motivations, even, a lot more than you typically would see at like a road race where you have your more uber serious, I'm not going to show up unless I'm super fit and ready to roll kind of person. So yeah, shout out to them for putting on a great event, and it was a fun time.
Sounded like fun. Wish I could have made it.
You should have.
It was my kid's birthday.
That would have been brave to skip it.
Yeah, or show up late, which would not have been good.
Yeah, that would have been bad. Certain things you don't skip.
Yeah.
Your kid's birthday.
5th birthday.
Yeah, definitely one of them.
All right, so real quick, a little announcement. We've got our Memphis 70.3 training group that's already kicked off, and those folks have already started. We've pretty much started like the true beginners.
Yep.
Right now, and these are the people who
call this phase 1, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to allow people to join all along the way based on kind of where their fitness is at. So, like, if you're already fit enough to like start or finish a sprint race, you could probably start in March, or February. If you're already fit enough to do an Olympic, but you've never done a half, then you could probably wait until May to kind of start and build with us. But so we're giving everyone the opportunity of all levels to come in, have do an intelligent build to a half iron distance race, and and
a program specific to this course.
Yep.
So progressive build, but also taking into account the needs of the course and what the course is going to demand.
Yep. And we're going to be covering all that kind of stuff with everybody. We're going to leave no stone unturned as far as not just the fitness side of things, but everything that somebody would want to or need to know to show up to that race on October 3rd and feel completely confident in the fact that you're going to make it to the finish line and do it with some gusto. Choop choop.
Gusto.
So if you want some more information on the training group, it's mostly online. We are going to do a few in-person things, getting closer to the race, like pre-ride and pre-run, of course, and stuff like that. But it's mostly online. We didn't want to fill it with a bunch of required things and build that into the price. People that things that people might not be able to attend or anything like that. So we kept it mostly online, and it's extremely affordable. So
definitely.
So you can check that out, buildpeakandpete.com/IMMEM.
IMMEM, which is short for Memphis.
Oh,
go figure.
Weird.
Cool.
All right, let's jump to it.
Yeah, that announcement sort of ties into the different options we have going here. So that's one option is, more of a pre-built plan, which we have layered a bunch of added stuff on top of that you typically don't get into a pre-built plan. But we're going to be diving into, essentially who a pre-built plan would be for, but also, first step, self-coached folks. Yeah. Which is probably the vast majority, I would say, would be, self-coached people, I would think.
Yeah, there's a lot of especially people who, even a lot of the competitive people, self-coach because most endurance athletes who are fairly competitive are type A, love to learn, very determined, have no problem doing research and stuff like that. So they read a bunch and they start to create their own program and training and whatnot. Pro to that is it's pretty cost effective.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the biggest pros, right? Is you pay nothing really unless you're buying books or something online. A ton of podcasts out there if you're a person who likes podcasts. If you're listening to this, you probably do. But there's podcasts, there's numerous websites out there. There's obviously tons of books out there. If you're someone who actually likes diving into actual research articles, you can do that as well. So you're essentially only limited by the amount of time you have on that. But from a cost standpoint, cheap as it gets.
Can't beat it.
Can't beat it at all. But a con.
Yeah, there is a big learning curve to just creating an intelligent program, one that's put together based on your fitness levels, your the sport, the demands of the course, stuff like that. It takes a lot of time. Like one of the big things that people say to us after we take them on a lot of times is, I did not know how much time I was spending creating my own training, analyzing my data, all that kind of stuff. And when they get that time back, they actually realize they can train more.
Yeah, exactly.
Or, spend more time with family or friends or doing some other things besides endurance sports. Yep. And then you realize that maybe the sacrifice that you were putting into, coaching yourself and then training is not quite as much as you originally thought.
Exactly. Yeah. Once I think someone who's more experienced probably has a better and easier time of being self-coached. If you've gone through the process before, it'd be easier to self-coach. If you're able to analyze previous year's data and kind of reverse engineer what worked and didn't work, that frees up time and makes it a little more simple. But there is a massive learning curve, and if you're someone who's so research is everything. I mean, something we found over the years is stuff that's done in a lab environment isn't necessarily the same as
absolutely
as how, someone who's going to work and dealing with, kids and having a life that's changing every 3 weeks and travel and it's not a perfect environment.
Research based on a sample of 30 professional cyclists.
Is exactly.
Usually.
So there's value to all that stuff, but there is kind of a word of caution. It is a bunch of trial and error for you as you first get into the sport. So if you're a self-coach person and that's the route you want to go, sign up for something like Training Peaks, where you can make sure you're uploading all of your data, putting in good comments, and that way a year from now, you can go back and look at how you felt, what you did. And you're going to be able to look back and go, okay, I felt great in March. I wanted to feel great in June. What was I doing prior to that? So make sure you're someone who's documenting everything.
If you're going to self-coach, you have to have some sort of a tracking software or capability. Otherwise, you'll never know if you're progressing, for one, really, aside from, race, race results and, stuff like that. So you got to track.
And even for us, so much is like looking at trends too, right? You can't read everything into one single workout because there's a ton of variables always, being placed upon a person. It's not a simple thing to do. So it's more of an analysis of trends. And if you're, so caught up in just the day-to-day, that single workout, it's easy to either overdo things, underdo things, not pay attention to a trend. So if you're self-coaching, be less stressed about the micro level and instead take time to get up to that 30,000 foot view and say, okay, where am I trending as far as my training is going?
So like, another pro of, we both pretty much self-coach ourselves. And so you can pretty much work the training into your schedule. I mean, nobody knows your schedule better than you and the trends of your schedule and stuff like that. So a lot of times if you are self-coached, you can pretty much kind of put together a week based on what you need to get done and then kind of fit those training sessions into the week kind of as it goes. Now, it doesn't always work that way, but, you can train a little bit more on like maybe how you're feeling that day versus, this is what you're supposed to do for the day. Whether you feel crappy or not.
This is what's written down, and that's what I'm going to do. The ability to adjust, so that's a pro. But it's also a con. That can also be a con. If you're someone who, you wake up in the morning, you're like, man, I'm not real motivated. I'm my own coach. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do in the afternoon. I don't feel like doing it in the afternoon. I'll just rework everything. I can do that because I'm coaching myself. So it's easy to let yourself off the hook a lot more. If you are a self-coach person.
Let's face it, you're a pushover.
Yes, you are your own biggest pushover at times, right?
I had an athlete in here this morning that I just started coaching and we're doing a bike fit on him, and he was like, I like researching and I like all this stuff, but he's like, I am the worst at motivating myself when I get demotivated. It's like he's like, I'm pretty intrinsically motivated, but when you're not everyone's motivated 100% of the time. He's like, I will let myself like slide on everything and do nothing. He's like,
not only am I not going to do my training for the day, I'm also going to eat a massive bag of Butterfingers.
Yeah, well, that was another part of the conversation, but that
wasn't even there.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you can, like, I've done it before. I mean, you have a training session on the plan for yourself, and you feel, maybe a little unmotivated, but maybe also a little fatigued or whatever. And you're like, you know what? It's Tuesday. I'll move that to Friday. And then, you know that Friday is busy, and and then that, then it conflicts and it doesn't happen. So I mean, it's really easy to just kind of push things, and push and push and push, and then you're 3 weeks from a race and you're like, man, I haven't really been doing any hard efforts.
Time to cram for the test. And that doesn't work. So
Yeah.
be cautious there.
Yeah. Other pros, like, for people like ourselves, the people who like to research, I mean, I guess a pro is that you can put as much time and effort into your own training.
Yep.
If you're self-coaching, and like I said before, you kind of know exactly how you felt during a training session, so that you can quickly modify like future ones if needed.
Yep.
So
which is that's very important. That's why like a power meter, if you're a cyclist or a triathlete, that's why a power meter is so valuable, is because you can go back and look, okay, I was on this climb, I got dropped, or I felt horrible, or whatever it may be, or at this point in a race, I totally faded. You can go back and look at what happened right before that, how you paced yourself prior to that, how many times did you hit above, maybe 2 times what your threshold is. So, say it's how many times did you spike or burn a match? You can go back and look at that stuff, and how you felt. Whether you were at your limit or not. As coaches, we spend quite a bit of time trying to get our athletes to put down really good comments, so that we know that. Like, just looking at power and heart rate tells us stuff, but we need that relative to how a person was feeling, and in order to morph the training, progress the training, or focus on certain limiters. If we find that that's a limiter, that's something we want to work on more. So as a self-coached athlete, you have all the time in the world and the knowledge of how you felt to do that.
Yeah. And on the opposing side to the whole research and monitor yourself, is that it's really easy to second guess yourself, or tell yourself you're feeling good, and keep pressing and press way too long, too much too soon, all those things that get you in trouble. It's really easy to tell yourself everything's hunky-dory and keep pushing yourself into a hole.
Yeah, it's easy to ignore the data because of your drive and determination to want to improve.
For sure. The other side of that, with the research end of it, is there is a ton of garbage.
Yeah, don't go to forums to try
internet.
to. And if you do go to forums, I'm not going to say forums are bad. If you
say it. Forums are bad.
Take everything with a grain of salt, right? And don't take that as fact, because within any forum you're going to have people that say long, slow distance is great. People that say all you should be doing is intensity. You can cite any, there's research on both sides of the fence. And so you need to be like being able to sift through who's the guy who just started training and read it on a different forum, and now he's an expert in the one that you're in.
Yeah.
And
my opinion is, if anyone is trying to tell you what to do and doesn't know you as an athlete,
your background, your life,
don't listen to them. You can gather some information and then make that, choice for yourself. But don't let people who have no idea anything about you decide how you train yourself.
Yeah,
that's not a good way to do it.
Yeah, and don't take it as fact.
Yeah, because like we said,
use it as a piece of information.
I've seen
compile your own data, right?
I've read a lot of research in my days, and I've also read a lot of research that only the results that they got only held true for maybe half the athletes that I coach. But and we do a lot of practical application of science and research in what we're putting together, and it doesn't always work. I mean, it's really just finding, like, trying it. Did it work? Okay, then maybe we can repeat that again, see if it works again. Did it not work? Okay, well, maybe it just didn't work this time. Maybe we'll try it one more time.
Yeah, why? Yeah, right.
Yeah, or we'll try something else. Like, there's a lot of trial and error even in coaching people. That a person that is self-coaching wouldn't give it enough time. We'll just put it that way. And I see this. The prime example is bike fitting. People make an adjustment on their bike. It doesn't feel good. They make another adjustment. It doesn't feel good. And this is all in the same day.
Yeah.
And pretty soon their bike is so out of whack.
They don't even know where they
have
felt
no
good
idea.
before.
Yeah.
A small tweak ends up being a totally different fit altogether.
Right.
Leading to a bunch of different issues.
So there you go. A lot of conflicting info on the internet.
Yeah. So to kind of summarize all that, self-coached, if you love to research, if you have a lot of time to do so, if cost is a big time issue for you, if you have a really crazy, hectic schedule, honestly, the biggest thing really comes down to budget and how much you enjoy doing the research and self-analysis stuff. So I would say budget is the biggest thing there. And essentially, as we go to each one of these levels, it does become a bit of a budget thing. The value you get from hiring a coach and all their experience and all the information that they've learned from dealing with numerous athletes is a ton of value, but it comes at a cost. If money, is an issue, hiring a custom coach isn't going to work for you. So I guess all that to say, most of this stuff, budget, you need to think about your budget.
Moving forward in these different options, the budget changes.
Yeah.
General, we'll move on to like general pre-built plans, we'll say cookie cutter plans. Some of them, they are still pretty cost effective.
Pro.
As a pro, yeah.
Yep. Pro, they are cost
put
effective.
little graphics up here.
Yeah.
But, they are still pretty cost effective. A pre-built plan, they can be free.
Yep.
I would caution.
Know who you're getting it from.
Yeah. Caution everyone that this is a con. There are a lot of plans out there, people that have no business writing training plans.
Yeah.
And they're just floating the internet for free, most of them.
Yeah.
Most of the time, if you pay for a plan, there's somebody put some thought into it. We'll just leave it at that.
Exactly. And most of the time, if you do your research on the front end on who you're getting the plan from.
Absolutely.
Because your plan should include a lot more than here's the number of miles you should do, right? Or here's the number of yards in the pool you should do. I mean, it should be carrying you along, educating you some, varying your intensity levels. So please don't pick a plan where all it is, if you're doing a marathon and it says 3 miles today, 5 miles Thursday, 10 miles Saturday.
And I will argue, and this is a total offshoot. I would argue that if you're looking at a plan like that, you probably should be training on time versus miles anyways. But that's a whole nother argument, a debate for another day. So cost effective. On the flip side, you either don't know where you got it from, or you need to do some research on who you're getting that plan from.
Yep.
Most of the plans that I've seen are anywhere from like free to $150.
Yep.
A lot of times, and basically the longer duration of the plan, the more expensive it is.
Yeah.
Pre-built plans are good for people who are beginners.
Pro, yes. If you're a beginner, it provides that basic structure. So if you have no clue on what you should be doing, a pre-built plan, a general plan will provide you that structure. It should be providing you a roadmap to follow.
Right. On the contrary, those pre-built plans normally don't give you anything but the fitness side of training for an event or whatever it is. And there are so many more things. The longer event that you're trying to take on, I would say the more you should consider getting a coach, like an actual coach, because there's so many other things that go into finishing a long event like a half or full Ironman or a Dirty Kansas type, hydration,
nutrition,
there's just so many other
equipment, the mental side of the sport,
Yeah.
the actual race day logistics.
So buying, in my opinion, buying a pre-built plan to finish an Ironman or to finish a epic gravel race, or whatever else is out. There's a million things out there. Epic events these days. That's a little more suspect, because while you might be prepared fitness-wise, there's a good chance you might not be dialed in hydration, nutrition,
other stuff that plays a very important role in how you do
Right.
on race day. Yeah, for sure.
So,
And the longer the plan is, the more opportunity there is for your plan to be derailed.
sure.
You get sick, or you miss 2 weeks, or you end up, falling down your stairs, or whatever it may be. Something happens. Something always happens in life.
Yeah.
Like that's like the one thing you can guarantee is something's going to come up that's going to derail things at some point in time.
Yeah.
99.9% of the people that we coach, we're having to adjust, tweak, manipulate the program around
At some
life.
point, yeah.
Yeah. You just don't get that in a general plan.
I would say a pro to general plans is that there is no there's no learning necessarily involved. You just kind of you just follow it to the best of your ability.
Mm-hmm.
But as you were saying, the con on that is you have no idea how to work that around. You may not have an idea how to work that around your life when it gets crazy.
Mm-hmm.
We had a lady who we for our Memphis 70.3 training group, you can purchase the plan only, and then you can purchase or pay to be a part of the group, and that kind of gives a little bit more of all these other things we're talking about.
Yeah.
That it's hard to put into a plan, like the nutrition, hydration, equipment.
Yeah, we've got 9 different webinars planned on
Right.
that, just to break down each facet of performance.
And so she emailed and said, "Hey, I bought the plan. I'm having a little trouble working in working things around when life gets crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Can you do a consult on how you would do this?" I was like, "Sure, we can sit down and do that. It's just if they figure that into the cost of your training,
Mm-hmm.
and is that extra cost, does it balance out to just having a coach or
Yep.
something like that?" So the big con, this is probably the biggest con to pre-built programs, is they don't work themselves around your life.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, that's it.
Yep. And they are called, we generally call them a general plan, right? So they're very general in nature, so that they appeal to a broad range of people.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not specific to you, your limiters, your strengths, the amount of time you have to train typically. Now, with Training Peaks, you can go to Training Peaks and you can search based on the amount of time you have, peak amount of time, or what the average amount of time the program will be planning for you in a week. So I strongly recommend you do that if you're going to go with the pre-built plan. But that really is kind of a downside, is that it's progressed. But and when we make our own general plans, we progress it based on what we would consider probably the low end of how someone would progress, right? We're not going to be over aggressive with the training plan, because there's more risk involved with doing too much than there is with doing too little.
Sure.
So usually with a general plan, you end up getting something that's very slow in progression, very general in nature, so that it does appeal to a broad range of people.
Yep.
And essentially think of it as this is the goal of a general plan is to get me from point A to point B. I know I'm going to get there. Now, if you really want to dial it all in and fine tune that and get there as fast as you can, or as strong as you can, or as best you can, going a higher level, hiring a coach, or even, we do this, other people do this. You can do a general plan and then reach out to an experienced coach and say, "Hey, either I've got a plan I already wrote out. Can you help me tweak this? And just, can I pay you to look at what I've planned out and how you might tweak that or blend it around my life stuff?"
Yep.
Yeah, feel free to reach out to people and say, would you consult with me on this?
Especially the person who wrote the plan.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, that's like we were saying, the lady contacted us about the 70.3 plan, and I have no problem, sitting down with somebody and talking through it, and doing a consult on it, just to give them a little bit more to help them work around it. I mean, you can get a lot of really good quality plans from, this is a pro, quality plans from experienced coaches on something like Training Peaks. There's a lot of people on Training Peaks who are making great plans, and Training Peaks also makes it very easy to take that plan, and as long as you have your thresholds set correctly in your account,
your training zones,
your efforts will be tailored to you.
Yep.
Like all the intervals and stuff like that will be tailored to you. So that is a big pro of using a plan that's maybe built off of like a Training Peaks. And there's some, like, I know some of the McMillan and stuff like that have some plans that you just kind of put in. Initially, you put in like a recent 5K or 10K time, and then that scales all your efforts. But then the problem with that is it doesn't change it along the way. It basically just,
there's no
this
retest.
is where you're at now. It spits it out. So if you progress, like you were saying, if you progress faster than normal, it's going to keep you at that same progression. It's not going to.
You're going to be undertraining.
It's not going to accelerate your progression.
Yeah, for sure.
Whereas something like Training Peaks, if you do something and you hit a new threshold, or then you can reset your threshold, and it
adjusts all your training zones.
all of your stuff moving forward.
Yep.
So that's a big pro. The last part of it was just, depending on who, like, this is the con side of it. Depending on who made that program, it might progress you too fast. It might be a beginner's program, but you might be a true beginner. And this, I've seen beginner programs.
You're over your head way too quick.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen beginner programs that start out of the gate with 3 swims, 3 bikes, 3 runs, and somebody opens that and they're like, I run 3 days a week. That's it. I don't know how to swim yet. So there's a lot, you just kind of have to watch out for that. And on top of that, you really don't get any support or feedback on what you're doing. So again, it pretty much turns into you self-coaching again, like, to some extent.
Yeah, you've got the roadmap, but you're still finding your way a little bit.
Yeah, you're kind of on your own.
Yep.
All right, so the last bit is hiring a coach. One that sits on a couch, maybe. Who knows? I
mean, that's who I would hire.
Yeah,
coach sitting couch.
Me too.
Wait,
maybe one with a
coach?
A mustache.
I don't know about the mustache.
So, the pro side of this, there's in our opinion, there's a lot of pros.
Let's start with the cons.
Let's do the cons first.
Yep.
Obviously, the con for a lot of people is the cost. It is not really cheap to have a coach, and if you do find a coach that is like incredibly cheap, I would be cautious about what they're providing.
It's kind of it's the same with the general plans. The free stuff probably not going to get you nearly as much value, not nearly as much time has been put into it, or as energy or experience has been put into that as one that you're paying for. Same with a coach.
This is literally what we do for a living. This is how we feed our families, pay for couches.
I mean, that's why our kids eat ramen.
They love ramen. So we're doing this for a living, so it is going to be a little bit more expensive. The other side of it is, it can be tough, unless you just don't care. It can be tough finding a coach that's kind of right for you.
Yeah, I would say that's huge.
We always, we tell people, if you're looking for a coach, come up with this list of hard questions, or questions that you have that you want honest answers on, and ask all the same questions to all the coaches that you're talking to. Send them in an email. Send a blanket email on all of them and see who responds for one.
Yeah, and I mean, as far as specifics there, like I would ask a coach, you need to let a coach know what your life schedule is, right? And ask if they've worked with people that have dealt with the same issues maybe that you deal with. If you're someone who's coming back from an injury, like ask if they've dealt with helping athletes come back from injury or how they would progress you based on that. Like get sort of specific about what your needs are and find out whether or not the coach has experience there and has taken other people, because that can be a good indicator for you on whether or not they can help you in your current situation.
I would say make sure you do some research on that person first and get an idea of like, okay, I want to do X. Has that person ever done X for themselves? Has they ever led people to X? How many people have they helped do that? All that kind of stuff. If you're hiring a coach that has never helped somebody do what you're wanting to do or has never done that themselves, you may want to find another coach because they're going to leave so many things. There's a chance that they can help you with the fitness part of it, but they're probably going to miss a lot of the intricacies of that event or that discipline or something like that because they have no experience with it if they've never done it themselves or they've never actually helped somebody do that before. So just ask those questions.
Yep.
I mean,
and the other big thing with finding a coach for you want, like, make sure you talk with them. Like, you want someone that you feel a good connection with. So don't be afraid to, if any coach won't get on a call with you, if you want to chat on a phone call, I would probably move on to someone else. But you want to have someone that you feel a connection with, that you're confident about. Don't save $30 a month because and sacrifice going with someone who you felt a lot better connection with just because it was $30 a month. You'll have a much better experience going with that person that you feel confident about.
It may not be somebody local, like it may not be a local person. Realistically, in the amount of time that you're going to spend training, even if you have a local coach, the amount of time you're actually going to come into face-to-face with that coach is pretty low, except for at races, or if they're doing clinics, or you're actually paying them to do one-on-one stuff or something like that. So if like doing one-on-one work with a coach is not necessarily important to you, then a local coach may not be the one. As long if you have a connection, that's one thing. But if not, it's okay to look elsewhere.
Yep, for sure.
On the pro side,
yes,
we'll finish out with the pros of hiring a coach. Since we just made it sound like it's really expensive and so increased motivation and accountability. Probably the number one thing that people get, the feedback that we get from people that we coach is
if we kind of scroll back this conversation we've just been having and we talked about that, what do you do on those days where you're not feeling motivated and how big of a pushover you are on yourself? Like just rewind to that and now we're back.
And then put me in there telling you to suck it up.
Yep. Or knowing that, okay, if I don't do this workout today, well, my coach has designed it a specific way for a reason. Like, I know it's best for me. It's best for me to do it today. I know my coach is going to want to know why I couldn't do it today. And so your motivation to go out and make it happen, to shift things around, to not hit that snooze button goes up drastically. Yep. And we've said it before, we'll beat the horse again. It's that one workout per week that you aren't skipping now that you would have skipped in the past that can make a big difference. That consistency, that C word.
Yeah.
And a coach really helps you keep that consistency.
And it may not even be like, you don't even have to consider it like, oh, if I don't do this, my coach is gonna call or text or
get mad at
email
me.
and be a drill sergeant. It's not even that. It's just knowing that somebody's looking over what you're doing. It like increases accountability like a ton.
Yes.
So the next biggest thing, biggest pro is that the program should be built and adjusted on your goals, your life, your present fitness level, and how you're progressing.
Exactly.
So like if that's not happening, if you have a coach and that's not happening, I would start interviewing some other people. But like if it's not built around your life scenario, like every person that we get, all of our coaches know that the first thing you do when you get somebody, a new client, is you get their work schedule and you get their like life schedule and what they have to do like for their kids and pick up and drop off and all this stuff. And you put that into Training Peaks so that you know where the gaps are.
Yep.
If you don't know where the gaps are, like how are you supposed to know when and where they're going to be able to fit this stuff in? So we get information. I mean, we probably, some people probably think we're prying a little bit here, but we're getting information on work meetings and holiday parties and vacations and all this stuff, and it's all going in there so that we can know what will work on that day and what won't. Because if we plan something on a day and it's like it's just not going to work, you're not going to do it. Like, and then you're going to try to like move things around yourself. It's just not going to work. So that plan is going to be built around you and your life basically, in a nutshell.
Yep. And like in our intro, we talk about dealing with time crunched athletes. I mean, that's kind of our sweet spot in people that we work with. And, for some, it's because you've got kids that you deal with. And we've joked around a lot saying how dealing with kids on a weekend is like, that's true endurance training, is chasing kids around, right? For some, it's, you run a business or you're a doctor or you got a lot of life demands. Don't think you can't reach big goals because of you're too busy. We've worked with some of the busiest people around, high-end executives, a lot of demanding stresses, lots of travel. We always tell them there's the ideal program is the program that works within your life schedule. Yeah. It's not the ideal program to take a person of your physiology and get them to race day if all they had to do was train. That's totally different than taking that person to race day, navigating board meetings, kids, grandkids, travel. I mean, we're not dealing, most of the folks we deal with are not pro athletes. And if you think you're too busy, I guarantee you we've dealt with it and we can help you out.
Guaranteed. We have dealt with somebody busier than you. Give us a try. Give it a try.
Or if you are that busy, then we will tell you on the front end that that's something a good coach will do.
Yeah.
It's probably where we struggled the most early on, right? Early on, like trying to build up our client base, being new, not having a ton of experience, we were like, yeah, what? You work 80 hours a week and you gonna add in another 25 hours of Ironman training? Like,
yeah,
you got it, man. It's totally doable.
Yeah,
You've never done one, and you've never done one before, and you're a true beginner, and we'll let you know on the front end. Yeah. We're not someone that's going to say, hey, you can't do something, but we're going to be very realistic with you and let you know what it's going to take. And let you know there have been other people in your position that either had success or the areas they really struggled, because odds are we've got someone who's in a similar situation to where you're at right now.
Yeah.
So learning from that, but
the upfront honesty on your goals. If they're lofty, we're going to tell you. If we can't make a decision on that, then we'll say we can't make a decision on that. But if you have like if you have a crazy life and you let us know, we can only work with the information we're given. But if you let us know, we're going to be honest on whether it's realistic or not.
And then it's a self-check for you. Like, okay, how important is this goal to me? What can I get rid of on my bucket or my basket of things I have to do each week? Is there something I can say no to that I've been saying yes to that's going to free up the time that I need? So it may be a self-evaluation of what, how are you using your time during the week? What are you committing yourself to? And how important is that relative to this new goal you've got? And if you need to shake your life stuff up a little bit, only you know what's most important to you. And so you need to prioritize that.
Yep. My number one thing for people when they tell me that they work like crazy and they want to do something like an Ironman, first thing I tell them is, okay, can you think you can muster an 18-hour training week? Look aside from where you are now in the fitness, but can you add 18 more hours of training, into your week? And how's your family going to feel about that?
Yeah.
So I keep it real, man.
For sure. Yep.
One of the huge pros of having a coach, and we already alluded to it, was a coach can walk you through all of the non-fitness related things, the hydration, nutrition, equipment, efficiency work, that sort of thing that have massive,
we talk about our 5 pillars at the start, of each podcast.
That's it.
Yeah.
Those are the things that we work on outside of just handing over a plan for fitness. All those things that we tag on that get an extra percent. People talk about marginal gains all the time, but some of these things aren't marginal. They're not marginal gains. These are very important parts to the performance puzzle that if you don't touch on them, you're either in trouble or you're leaving a lot out, leaving it on the table. So, having a coach can walk you through all of those things.
Definitely. I would say if you're a person who is time crunched and has some big goals, going general plan or going self-coached. If you're time crunched, going self-coached, and you're going to say you're training for an Ironman, something that's going to require a lot of training, you have to account for now not only the training, but you need to account for the 2 hours, 3 hours a week of reviewing your own data, planning out your upcoming weeks, making the modifications and the changes, maybe doing some of the research. So there's a lot of extra time. You're probably adding on 3-4 hours worth of time. I'm talking to one of the guys that you started coaching, pro triathlete. We were riding together, and I was just kind of asking him how everything was going and stuff. And he's like, one of the I think coolest parts, he's like, I'm kicking myself that I didn't do it sooner. And he's like, I just didn't realize how much time I was spending doing all that stuff on my own. Yep. He's like, even my wife has noticed how much more time I have, even though I'm training more than I was. Yep. But I'm spending more time with my family. And so it's like a win on both sides. He's gained back time with his family while increasing his training load. And that's that's where performance
win-win
gains can come from. So if you're a busy person, with big goals, I would highly encourage you to go more on the route of hiring a coach.
And even though he's a pro triathlete, very family oriented guy, he's not the first person that said that. I mean,
for sure.
We've had finance guys who have said, I had no clue how much time I was wasting at work. And
was wasting at work.
Once they really realized they got that time back, they were a lot more productive at work and actually had better years at work, better revenue, better income.
Yep.
Because they had all that extra time. They weren't blowing it looking over training peaks. But last big pro I would say is a coach is like your number one cheerleader. Your sounding board. to some extent, we're therapists at the same time as rooting for you. We get invested in your performance 100%. I mean, I can't, my wife doesn't always appreciate it, but I can't tell you how many Saturdays, especially on big race weekends where I've got 10, 12 people racing, that I'm like glued to the phone because
you're refreshing. Refreshing
the tracker. Because we get super, like, when people have bad races, it affects us, that way too. When people have awesome races, it's awesome. And on top of that, your coach is probably the only one who wants to listen to.
You're stealing what I was going to say, Dale.
Well, you can finish it out.
Your coach is the only one that really cares about your powers numbers increasing 5 watts on a specific workout, or your pace is dropping. If you go to your water cooler at work, do people still do that?
I don't know. I don't know.
And you start telling all your friends about how fast you're getting and how your recent 5K you just did, you just dropped 8 seconds off your PR on a hilly course in bad conditions. And be like, dude, shut up. Yeah. Like, I don't care.
Quit bragging all that.
Yeah.
No, like, nobody wants to hear about, even your best friends in endurance sports don't want to hear about your power numbers. They don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean,
but your coach
does.
Your coach definitely does. And it is an opportunity to, like, we know you're excited about it. We're excited about it. Your spouse probably knows you're excited about it, but they just don't really want to hear about it. They're happy that you're happy, and let's leave it there. But, you don't have to be humble with your coach. I mean, this is a time for you to not only, it's a time where you can express your successes, be happy about them, have someone happy for you about them. And that's, it's a good feeling for sure. Absolutely. On the other end, when things don't go well, you've got someone to talk to about that as well, who's likely dealt with an athlete. Like in our situation, a lot of time, new stuff always pops up, but a coach is going to help you think about the big picture and not get caught up on any one bad result. We did a podcast on it. Like,
it's always what, you had a
bad day, right?
Yeah. Had a bad day. What do we do about it?
Yep.
And that's what we do with bad races. It's like, okay, well, what can we learn from it so we don't end up doing this again?
Mm-hmm.
We want to hear the good, the bad, and the ugly. So
yep. All right, I think we covered it all, right?
Crushed it.
So 3 different options. You can throw training teams in there too. There's subcategories of all of these different things. If you're looking to hire a coach, obviously we'd love to chat with you and see if we're a good fit for you. Most coaches are going to have different levels. And so when looking at your budget, like, we encourage folks on the front end, go on the higher end of contact that you're going to have, program review. Go on the higher end of what works for your budget initially while you and your coach learn each other, because there is that learning curve. So the more contact you can get with your coach initially, via program review, asking questions, jumping on phone calls, whatever it may be, do that on the front end. Don't save that until, like, okay, I'm gonna save money initially, and then as my race gets close, then I'm gonna, like, up the level so we have a lot of contact. We encourage folks to do it the opposite. Like, do more on the front end while you and your coach learn each other, and then once your coach has a good feel of what works, what you can handle, how much training load you can handle, what your schedule's like, how predictable or not it is, then scaling back the level of contact and obviously the price associated with that is much easier.
Yep.
That was my last spiel.
All right. We appreciate everyone hanging out, listening, watching. We'll catch you guys next time.
Peace.
Adios.